Welcome to the Temple of Elemental Evil, Episode 14.
I am Dreadmore, your Dungeon Master, and these are your players for Episode 14. Nyraxis, a 4th level Infernal Tiefling Draconic Sorcerer. Malik, a 4th level Cleric of Palor, who follows the Life Domain. Dusty Slay, a 4th level Gloomstalker Ranger of the Gnarly Forest. Octavius, a 4th level Stone Giant Goliath Wizard Evoker. Cantor, a 4th level Orc Monk. He is a warrior of the elements. Gothox, a 4th level Cloud Giant Goliath Druid, who belongs to the Druid Order called the Circle of the Land. Let's continue our story. The chapter title is The Village of Nulb. The story begins with our heroes traveling from Vorbabong to the recaptured ring fort in the Kron Hills. They bring with them building supplies, laborers, and guards to re-establish the ring fort as a traveling outpost. After giving instructions to the labor foremen and to the sergeants of the guards, the party sets out for Hamlet, which is a day and a half of travel by foot. On the way to Hamlet, the party came across a random encounter of gnome merchants, who were making their way to Hamlet from Verbabong with 3 covered wagons carrying beer, mead, and ale. The adventurers decided to purchase all 3 carts of liquor from the gnome merchants. They were given a deal, as Malik wore the ring given to him by Narf, the gnome that was saved by our heroes in the Moat House dungeon. That ring signified that he was a friend to gnomes. The heroes sent 1 cart of beer to the ring fort, boosting morale, while taking the other 2 carts of ale and mead with them on their travels to Nulb. That's when a druid of the Kron Hills named Dak walked up to the gathering on the road. He exchanged information with Gothox in their own personal language. Upon further discussion with Dusty and Gothox, Dak, the druid of the Kron Hills, would help them in the rebuilding of the Temple of Obandhai inside the ring fort. After 2 days of uneventful travel to the village of Hamlet, our group of heroes checked into the Inn of the Welcoming Wench for the night. They informed Osler, the innkeeper, that the ring fort had been recaptured and that they were taking over ownership. Osler was pleased and offered them a free night of food, ale, and rest. Malik checked in on the status of construction of his Church of Palor, which was half completed, while Dusty and Gothox checked in with Jeru, informing him that they were heading to Nulb to check on the evil there. Jeru warned them to be careful, as Nulb is a village of evil and skullduggery. The next day, our adventurers checked out of the Inn of the Welcoming Wench and set off on their 2-day journey to Nulb. They decided to travel the high road to Nulb while acting as liquor merchants. Their 2 days of travel was uneventful, and they arrived on the outskirts of Nulb at dusk. Instead of entering, they would instead camp outside the village for the night. Dusty and Gothox used their survival skills to craft an insect repellent for the group, as the bugs were unrelentless. They observed that the village sprang to life after dark. The next morning, our heroes rode into the village from the south with their 2 wagons of ale and mead, acting as merchants here to sell liquor to the local establishments. Upon entering Nulb at 9 in the morning, they found the village to be quiet and the streets empty, not knowing where to begin. Gothox shapeshifted into a hawk and flew over the village, noting businesses with signs and anything of importance. Gothox then morphed back to normal and relayed what he saw to the group. Our heroes decided to stop off at the taxidermist. Kantar knocked on the door and began to ask questions about the village and its activities. Grelb, the male human taxidermist, was in no mood to answer the orc's questions. The exchange between the two became heated, causing Grelb to slam the door in Kantar's face, while telling the group they were no longer welcome at his store. This left our heroes with no choice but to travel into the village further. That's when the sounds of a hammer hitting steel got the attention of the adventurers. They approached to see a human male making horseshoes next to a creaking sign of an anvil. This appears to be the local smithy. After a lengthy, detailed conversation, Otis and the heroes both revealed that they were agents of good. He warned that people tend to go missing around here. Slaves mostly, and also patrons of local establishments, such as the Waterside Hostel and the Boatman's Tavern. He asked them to investigate these disappearances. He also spoke of the Temple of Elemental Evil, just a few miles from town, and mentioned that he works with other good-allied agents in the village. A mother and daughter at the herb shop also spy for the cause. They left the blacksmith's forge and headed to Mother Scring's herb shop. Malik, Dusty, and Kantar led the conversation with the two older women. The matron was Mother Scring, and her daughter was Ruta. The trio explained their encounter with Otis, and that they, too, work for agents of good, out of Verbabonk. They had been hired by Lord Corbin Delavue to infiltrate the village and determine what kind of evil had taken root here. Upon hearing this, the women revealed their true names. Mother Scring's real name was Yade, and her daughter's name was Murfles. A cordial discussion followed between Kantar and Ye, which culminated in her selling him 3 Kyodom's ointments at a discounted price. She hoped the salves would help their fight against evil in these lands. Leaving the herb shop, they proceeded to the Waterside Hostel. Nyraxis and Gothox entered the near-deserted establishment and spoke with Dick Wrench, the hostel's owner. They told him they had 2 wagons of meat and ale for sale at a reduced price. Dick came outside, saw their stock, and offered a modest purchase price. They agreed, understanding the wagons were part of their cover. The group then rented 2 large rooms for the night, planning to rest until dusk. They figured they would glean more information at night than during the day. Splitting into 3 pairs, they planned to gather intelligence. Dusty and Gothox would check out the game butcher and fishmonger. Malik and Octavius would investigate the Boatman's Tavern, and Kantar with Nyraxis would question patrons at the Waterside Hostel. Starting with Kantar and Nyraxis, they heard several rumors at the hostel about the area, but nothing solid. Next, Malik and Octavius gathered multiple rumors about the Temple of Elemental Evil. Malik even secured an audience with Nulb, the pirate captain who was in attendance with more than 20 pirates. Malik hinted that he commanded a small band of warrior merchants who were available for hire, provided the pay and job was right. Nulb said he would consider contacting him if something lucrative came up. The last pair, Dusty and Gothox, made their way to the game butcher and bought a few days' rations of venison jerky off the owner Bart. They then headed to the fishmonger, who was cleaning crabs near a basket. A group of teenage hoods loitered nearby, keeping a close eye on everything. Gothox paid Carson, the fishmonger, 1 pearl worth 100 gold pieces for information about a gigantic gar spotted in the area. Carson agreed to share where he last saw it, but refused to reveal more. Dusty then offered 3 more pearls worth 300 gold pieces. "Are you sure there isn't anything else unusual I should know about this village?" Dusty pressed. A drunken, greedy Carson took the pearls and whispered a rumor that the candle maker had been moving merchandise in the wax to other locations. Dusty and Gothox left the fishmonger's shop and returned to meet the rest of the group at the waterside hostel. The heroes would start their day attempting to hunt and kill a great gar that stalked the area the following morning, hoping to make a name for themselves and gain entry to the village's darker corners of evil. Gothox shapeshifted into a hawk and flew over the cove to confirm the gar's location, returning after a few hours to the group, who then trekked a few hours north along Emerald's Run River to its location. Malik cast a light spell on his full-plate armor and stepped waist-deep into the water near the giant gar. The beast swam closer, taking the bait. Dusty unexpectedly slipped into the water beside Malik, tossing venison jerky sticks as a lure. The giant gar suddenly altered course and lunged at Dusty, its bite missing him. The attack exposed part of the gar, and the party unleashed magic and might upon the great fish. Nyraxis blasted the giant gar with a witch bolt spell, causing electrical damage, while Octavius struck it with force damage with magic missiles from his wand. Gothox would throw in the staff of the serpent, and the summoned python bit the gar. Dusty delivered 2 powerful slashes with his great axe, inflicting heavy damage. Frustrated by its food, the gar fled into deeper waters, trying to escape. Nyraxis's witch bolt spell fizzled as the great fish gained distance into the murky water. Kantara made an amazing jump from a nearby dock, landing beside the behemoth, and delivered multiple elemental blows, eventually felling the giant gar. They hauled the carcass back to Nulb, traveling in the riverway with their trophy for about 3 hours before reaching the village. They showed Carson their prize, and he began to prepare the massive fish to be eaten at the boatman's tavern that night. The giant gar's massive head will also be on full display for the tavern's patrons to view. This is where we end this week of the adventure. Tune in next week to see if our heroes are able to infiltrate the evil here in Nulb, or find out how the evil here is moving slaves and people alike from this town in mass numbers. Join us next week for episode 15 of the Temple of Elemental Evil module.